Hi, this is Josh, 60 Doctor, and today I'm going to show you guys, I did my last video that was like an hour long, and it shows you how to install heads on the 6-liter, but I didn't quite get to show you guys how I remove the heads out of the 6-liter. So today I'm going to take the opportunity, and I have a 2003, it's an early 03, so it's going to have the some things are a little different. It's got the early turbo and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you guys how to take the heads off of this truck, and it's something that's easy for you guys to do in your driveway if you want to watch the video, and you can do it without pulling the cab. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it without pulling the cab off, and so let's get started. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible so that way it doesn't get dragged out. So let's get started. Okay, so got the water drained and the oil's drained, or the oil's still draining, but the water's empty, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the hoses off here. If you have a water filtration kit, you can go ahead and leave that plugged in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take should be a 10 mil nut on the back of this. I'm just going to remove this and set it off to the side. Okay, now with the water filter system taken away, I have it just tossed over to the side over there. Next, we're going to go ahead and take an 8 mil socket, remove the 2 bolts here, and loosen up this. And I'm going to loosen up the clamps for the air intake. Remove this really quick and get this taken off so I can take the air filter out. Okay, so loosen up these clamps here with the 8mm socket. So I'm using that. So we're just going to pull this off. Okay, and then we're going to lift this out as one unit. At the bottom right here, I just pull this filter minder, just pull it straight up, and I leave it plugged in. Doesn't really matter, I take it out of the way. So we're just going to take this, lift it out. You can even do this with a factory air filter, so this is an aftermarket air filter, obviously. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove this degas bottle. You can go ahead and pause it now. I take a 7 mil, just remove this. So I don't lose the clamp. And then we'll take an 8 mil. What I like to do is I like to start from the front of the truck and work my way back. So take these off, so it gives me a little bit extra clearance. This wire loom, I'll just go ahead and pull it up a little bit, so that way I can pull the radiator towards me and give me some more clearance here. Okay, now I'll take a pry bar, stick it underneath this, and lift this up, just like that. So you can tell this is someone that actually had this out before, so it's a little broken on this side. They will come apart sometimes right here, and they kind of split apart. And try not to break this nipple. If you do break it, you can repair it. So someone's had this out before and didn't do it right or something. So it caused it to come out in 2 sections like that, which is fine. So the rest of it, you can slide out just like this. And then what I'll do is I'll just run either screws, and I'll just reattach this so it's all one piece again. See, there's a hole here, so I can just put screws in here and make this all one piece again. Now that I have the radiator out, I'll take these and I'll put these back on, so that way it supports the radiator and doesn't break, because I'm going to be resting my body on it. So next, I'll take a 15 mil socket, the fan bolts. So there's one on that side, and then there's another one on this side. When you pull this back a little bit, the bolts will just come out, and I let them just go to the ground. So there should be two more down below. Go ahead and pause it. We're gonna pull this back a little bit, so that way I can take a chisel and access the fan nut. Let me get a and then we'll just spin the fan off. Get it lined up here. Spin this off. Go pause it. Some of these have dual alternators, but this one is just a single, so we'll go ahead and just take the belt off. So on this, you just take the ratchet, half-inch ratchet. You want to go down with it. Now there's a little clip underneath this. Okay, and you just push your finger right here, the clip will go up, and it will keep this open, like that. So now you can just take your belt off. And when you put your belt back on, you can just pull on the belt, and that spring will, come on. So I'm gonna loosen this belt up, because I'm gonna spin the crank by hand when we get ready to when we get the heads put back in. Okay. Do a 7/16 socket or 11 mil. And then I'll just go ahead and loosen this one here. Okay, and then I'll loosen up this one right here. Go ahead and take this off, and then move it. Now I go ahead and use a 10 mil socket, and I'll remove the alternator off of the positive side of the battery. I don't disconnect the batteries, there's no need to. I just take the wire off of the harness and get it away from the battery, so that way the alternator doesn't arc. And then now I'll remove the 10 mil nut off the alternator. Disconnect the cord. Now we'll go ahead and use a 13 mil socket. Remove all things. Another thing I like to do is I'll take a 8 mil socket extension. I'll disconnect this here. And remove this one down here. And then use a pry bar pop that out. And notice how I keep the filter system, just keep it there. You can go ahead and remove the net sensor hose. Some pliers in that. Then I just tuck this out of the way. Be careful not to break the nipple on the end of this hose. So I'll take this hose here and just move it out of the way. Try to get it and over this. So now that's removed. So now I got access to the rest of the front of the engine here. Okay. So, go ahead and take 8 mil and just loosen this up here. And then I'll take a 10 mil and go ahead and take these nuts off on the FICM. So somebody's had this off before, and you can tell that it's not bolted to the keepers actually came out of the intake manifold, out of the intake here, and this isn't even plugged in, so he's probably leaking oil into that. So this, you can tell someone didn't take it out right before and broke it. So you really don't need this. You can take these off and if you want to cut these flat, but you do need to have this bracket. If you want to take this bracket and cut it, you could do that as well. But you need this on there to hold the FICM down. If you don't have the, if on the 04 and up, the FICM mounts are different. So you need this to hold the FICM down, but on this one it uses these studs here to hold the FICM on, so you don't really need this on here anymore. Okay, on the 03s and some of the 04s, the exhaust back pressure sensor is right here mounted to the thermostat. So what you need to do is you need to disconnect this, because this pipe's going to come out with the head and you don't want this to be on. So we're going to remove this, and I also started removing some of the fuel lines to get that out of the way. Another thing is the wire for the cam positioning sensor. You can see that it doesn't go down the center of this like on the 05s do, the 04 and up style. So if you have this style, it's easier just to pull this off, the 13mm nuts, and get that removed. So I'm using a 40 quartz bit deep, and I'm taking out all the screws that hold down the oil filter housing. So there should be 4 of them. And then we're going to lift this over this just pushes down right here. You won't find this on the 04.5 or 05s and up. Just go and push this out. Remove the EGR wire. And I'll go ahead and move this out of the way and remove the filter housing. Just get these off by hand. Pocket and get that off. Okay. Go ahead and remove this. Unplug your pressure switch and your cooler cables here. Now, another thing you'll notice is they come down like that. Like this. And go ahead and remove all these cables. Up. And then you have your glow plug harness here. Go ahead and disconnect that as well. And then push this in like that, and then you can pull this out. Take off this. And then there's another one down at the bottom. This will lift off. Okay, and then you can just remove this. And I just throw it over there. Now here's your wire loom. I try to get what you can. And I just put it over the front. Okay, so if I get it over here and just get it out of the way, get it down, then it's not in my way with anything. So I don't have to worry about it getting smashed. Next, we'll go ahead and get the FICM out. And that's going to go 13. Okay, there's going to be 2 more of these bolts in the back. Next, we'll go ahead and take a FICM, just lift it up, and then disconnect. Actually, this one already has a broken tab, so just be careful with it. And remove the FICM. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remove the turbo. So So in order to remove this turbo, this is an 03 style, I'm going to go ahead and wet these down with WD-40 and get the clamps off. A deep socket. Deep. And put it on here. Remove this. And that took the whole nut off. You didn't have to take the whole nut off, but and then there's another one straight down. Okay, so that one's loose. Okay, so if your clamp's stuck, here's a trick for you guys. So this one's pretty stuck on here. What I'll do is I'll take an air chisel and I'll just put it right here on the back. Okay. And it just pops it loose, just like that. So now it's nice and loose. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Get right here on the up pipe. Okay. And I'll just give it a nice little blast. Okay, and that should have it loose there. Okay. And that way I can get the clamps off a lot easier than that way you don't have to pry them off. And if you can, the exhaust side of the on the turbo, the housing is actually stronger than on the exhaust. So if you get it right on the housing where the clamp's at, and just give it a nice little blast, especially if you have it well lubed, it should pop right on off. So that one went ahead, and that one's free spinning now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the bolts off. You have a nut right here, or a bolt, and I just use a 10mm ratchet wrench. So that one's loose. The hardest one is on the back. And there's a couple of problems that you guys have had, and I'm going to show you, if I run into the problem, I'll show you guys how to get around it. So there's another bolt right here. On this side. This one's going to take a little leverage. Okay. So someone's worked on this truck before, so I'm gonna just check to see if the bolt's even there. And it's not. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier for me, but there should be a bolt in the back, and it's gonna be just like this, and it's gonna be facing this way. If this strips out, you can try using a 10mm ratchet wrench to pop it loose. If you have to, you can get a breaker bar back there and pop it loose. If you can't get, let's see here. If you can't get enough leverage on it, you can get right here on the turbo and use the turbo as a pry bar and basically just pry it like that. If you strip it out, basically all you need to do is just get around this part right here. Now you can pick these up at AutoZone. They're called bolt grips, and I got them in metric, and they have them in standard sizes, so you need 11/16 size. And what this does is it goes around the whole thing, so you don't want it just on the nut side of it. You want it to go around the whole thing. So it's gonna grip this whole thing just like that. And then I use a snap-on flex ratchet head wrench, and I just if you have to, you can use a pry bar, and I just bust this loose, just like that. So, and actually you'd be going this way. So if you get your pry bar in there like that and just push it down, you should have enough leverage to bust this loose. And so that's if you have an 03 turbo and you can't get the bolt off on the back. This is what you this is how you can get it off if it's stripped out or if you're having problems with it. So there you go. On the 03s, there's not that much clearance with the turbo in here for some reason. What I do is I remove the shroud off the top of the turbo just to give me some more clearance. So there's 3 8mm size bolts on here that are kind of small, and they're just gonna hold this heat shield on. And so you take those 3 bolts off and remove the shroud, and it gives you just a little bit more clearance, so you can pop this out. Now the next thing you're gonna do is take a pry bar like this, and I just come up underneath and just pop it loose, just like that, and make sure that your clamp is out of the way. Of course it has the right here, the turbo, just get that off. And now you should be able to just pull this out. Stop getting stuck. Alright, so once you get this out, let's go ahead and go on out. Alright, now we'll go ahead and remove all these. And on these, you just use a screwdriver and push these down. I go like that. Okay. Just push those pins down and these will pop right out. So just go down in here like that and they pull out. Down. And they pop right out. This side. Okay. Now there's a bolt at the back that's holding this on with a 10mm socket. So I'll go ahead and remove this. Okay. And then take this off. And then the whole injector harness should be loose. And then on some of the 03 styles, you'll notice that there's a clip that goes around the pressure switch. So you just got to remove this clip. It's no big deal. Just like that. Next, you'll plug your IPR valve. Okay. So your IPR valve, just some clips right here, it's sticking straight up. And then in the very back, you just unclip your ICP sensor, and then you can pull this wire out. And the heat shield. And you want to make sure that heat shield goes back on that wire when you put it back together. So now all your wiring is just laying in front of the truck. Okay? So now we'll go ahead and take off the intake manifold. On the 03s, you have to remove the pedestal to get the intake manifold out of here. So there's just 4 10mm bolts, and we're just going to crack these, get these loose. Get this out. So go ahead and take this out. Oops. And don't drop anything. And then remove the pedestal. And then put this back in. That way you don't drop anything down in this hole. Pedestal out of the way. Now we can go ahead and lift this up. This. So I'm not too worried about debris getting into the cylinder heads because the heads are coming off and probably going to get new heads put on this anyway. So anyway, we're gonna now we'll start on the driver's side and start removing the driver's side manifold and everything. We're gonna have a different system mounting than you are in the 04.5 and up. So okay. So you're gonna, this is kind of rusted in here, actually. Just like that. And take that. Okay. So the valve cover is ready to come off. All these are 12mm. So go ahead and remove all these. A Dockco, if you have a Dockco or anything from Harbor Freight, you take the wrench for it and you just stick it in between here like that, okay, and then you just pull this off so it'll come back like that, and then you remove all the 8mm bolts off of here and then just pop this up. Let's make sure I got all the bolts off. So you just take a pry bar like that. Just lift it right up. Okay, and let it drain. So all the oil drain out of this. And then continue on with taking the heads off. Okay. Alright, so I got the oil rail off, and this is just gonna, this will come out as well with the same type of thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and get these rocker arms off You can leave the injectors in or out, it's up to you. And you can leave the glow plug harness on and the exhaust manifold on. What we're going to do is I'm going to break all these 10 mil bolts loose for the rocker carrier assemblies and go ahead and get the rocker arms and get the push rods taken out. And then we're going to remove the two or three nuts that's on the engine mount that goes underneath the frame. So remove those nuts so we can jack the engine up. We also need to remove the Y pipe assembly as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking these off and go from there.
But they're all out.
Okay, so we go ahead and get the push rods out, and we got the rocker carrier assemblies off. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the bridges that go to the valves. This one, if you have a Daco that you get from Harbor Freight and it comes with one of these tools, you basically just put the smaller side in right here, in between the, let's see if we can shine some light down in there. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so it goes in between the rubber and the metal, okay? So you just pull that in there, and then this should lift right off. Okay, give it a little tug. You might have to work with it, but as long as you get this in between here like that, it should come right off. Okay, now to get the rest out, you use an 18mm socket. Okay, just get this loose. Do that, and this is going to pull out. Okay, so let the oil drain out of this, and there's your standpipe. Okay, so there's these two, so you can see how these go together like that. So the driver's side is ready to, we have the engine nuts on the engine mount to the frame. We have them removed. There's only 2 of them on the 03 models. So we're gonna, in order to make clearance for this box, I have to remove the passenger side valve cover. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the valve cover on the passenger side. So to get the valve cover bolts off on the bottom, I just use a 12mm ratchet wrench, and I can get up underneath right here and just go down underneath and break the screws loose for the valve cover bolts, and then I just get them out by hand. I just reach down here and just undo them by hand. So the 8mm bolts, there's 2 of them right here in between the box and on the rail. They're a little hard to get to. What I'm using is a 1/4 drive. This one's about 7-8 inches long, and then I have a swiveling 8mm socket on here, just a short. Okay, for the front one, I get it at this angle, so you can get in there at an angle is like 45. For the back one, you want to get it from the back, so you go behind like this. Okay, get in there like that. And then you can pull those out. So with the on the passenger side, you got to remove the oil rail, and once that's removed, then you can go ahead and jack up the engine. So we had the nuts and the Y pipes removed out of the truck, so that there's no clearance problems. I also have a floor jack underneath the exhaust pipe, so it's pressed up against the firewall. So now that we have the driver's side tilted up in the air, we can go ahead and remove the bottom lower head bolts, and then get this head removed. Alright, so when you take the driver's side head out, I leave the back stud in. You can zip tie it up a little bit if you want to get it out of the way, but you're not going to be able to jack the engine up high enough to get this stud out. So if you just be careful, just lift the head up, because there won't be anything in the way, and this will come up with it, and you can take it out. You can get it uncaught from the gasket. When you get it up high enough, you can just push the gasket down, or if the gasket wants to come with it, that's even better. So this is what it looks like when you get it out on the driver's side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the engine mount, and we're going to lower the engine down as far as it'll go to the driver's side. Okay, so with the the driver's side engine mount removed, you're going to go ahead and lower the engine down as far as it'll go and start on the passenger side. So now on the passenger side, you're going to remove all the 10mm bolts for the rocker carrier assemblies, remove the factory bolts, head bolts, and then you're also going to remove the push rods and get everything out of the way so you can get the head ready to lift. So go ahead and remove all the studs except for the bottom 3 that are underneath on the airbox. You won't be able to pull those out because of the airbox anyway, so if you want you can zip tie those up to hold them up while you use the cherry picker to cherry pick the heads out. Alright, so I want to show you guys how I hook the chain up really quick since I'm doing the passenger side. So first off, I'm using a really long chain, and I'll just put 3 bolts on the intake side. They do make a bracket that you can bolt here and just lift it straight up. I'm too cheap. Chain works just fine. So I'll have the chain first bolt to that one here and here, and then I'll have it cross over. I'll have it go through one hole in the exhaust manifold, and then have it come up the back on the exhaust manifold in the back, and then it'll come up through the loop, and then I have it bolt in here so it keeps it nice and steady. So we're gonna go ahead and start lifting this head up so you guys can see how the head comes out pretty easy. And you want to be careful. I have the injector still in it, so try not to damage any injectors. So the head's already starting to lift up. Slow down. So with these studs still in, you got to make sure that they get loose. Drop it down just a little bit. You want to make sure that these heads, the studs, stay loose and pop out, or else they will allow it not to come out. Come up a little. Okay, keep coming. Go ahead. Keep on coming. Keep coming. Hold on a second. Make sure these are loose. That back one's getting caught up there a little bit. So it's kind of hard to do this one-handed, but you guys are getting the gist of how to get these out. Let's see if I can get you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up this back stud here. There it goes. Okay, we're gonna keep lifting it up. Okay, slow down. Okay, come up. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, up a little. Okay. So the gasket will kind of catch. So just work the gasket out. Head studs here. It's better just to take the whole gasket out with it, and then it'll come right out. Go ahead, come up. Now you want to be sure on the passenger side we haven't unhooked the ground wire on the back. Okay, hold on, hold on. I'm gonna crush my light. Right out of the way. Alright, come up a little. One more. Hold on. little more. Okay, come back. Up. There you go. Stop. Okay, so the head's out. And now we're just gonna remove this ground wire right here and pull the rest of the head out of the truck. And there you go. Both heads out of a 6-liter with the cab on. Not too bad. On my last video, when I do the head gasket install, I show you guys these rocker carriers, and now this is an 03, and you can tell that it's an 03 by the casting. See how it says 03 at the end of it? Now on these ones, they use a metal clip. They don't use a plastic clip. So, but they do have the plastic ones from an 04 will fit on the 03s. Now, this is what it looks like when you get your heads taken out. So, like again, this is an 03 truck, so it's an early 03. So, it can be done. It's the same as an 05, except for on the 05, you do not have to pull out the pedestal. On the 03s, the engine mounts are a little different. So this is the engine mount here for an 03. It uses just 2 bolts like a van does. On the 04 and a half and up, they use 4 bolts to the frame. So it's got 4 nuts underneath. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, you guys can comment on the video. Or send me an email. These are what the heads look like when they're taken out. Again, I left the injectors in, so I'll take the injectors out now and get everything ready to get the heads prepped for machining. Thank you.